Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. And if these handouts don't work for fans, please know that we have borrowable fans in the back. So thank you so much for coming out. I'm Ruth Ann Marquis. I'm a member here. For many of you know me, but I want to tell you that I heard Tabitha's presentation through the Raleigh Hills Business Association, and I just thought it was so good and such important information that I wanted to make sure that more people heard it. So this is Tabitha Alkire, and she is with the Washington County Sheriff's Office, Public Affairs Office, and she leads the Elder Safe program. And I just think this is going to be great. So please welcome Tabitha.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm just going to scoot this side so I can touch the screen when I need to. So first off, I want to ask anyone, has anyone here had a scam call you, text you, email you? Okay. Has anyone not had someone call, text, email, mail? Anyone? Okay. One time I got one person. I was like, how have you had that happen? Yet they didn't know, maybe. But yes, like Ruth Ann said, I work for Washington County Sheriff's Office. I run what we call our Elder Safe program at the Sheriff's Office. It is myself and a group of volunteers that run the Elder Safe program, along with all our deputies that help provide information about the program or provide us cases. Unfortunately, they would be cases to the Elder Safe program. So just to give a little bit of a brief overview, am I blocking your guys' view? Okay, I'll try to stand straight. Of what the Elder Safe program is. So the first thing that we do is we provide community outreach to anyone in Washington County that is older adults or providing care for older adults. So we do scam presentations, we do elder abuse presentations, and then we just do basic, like, this is what our program is, an overview of what the Elder Safe program is. And we provide it out to, like I said, any group that lives in Washington County or caregivers taking care of older adults. And then we coordinate two programs. These are not necessarily for older adults, it can be, but they are programs that could anyone that could wander away from the home but doesn't necessarily know how to get back home. And I have brochures over here if you want to take them when you leave. And those two programs are called Project Lifesaver and Help Me Home. And really it could be a child, could be an older adult, anyone with some sort of mental health or diagnosed medical condition that would cause them to go away from the home, just wander away and not know how to get back home. And so they are programs that are set up to help deputies locate that person if they were to go missing. So if you know anyone that could utilize those programs, we have more information about them over there. But I'm not going to talk too much about that because that's not technically what the presentation's about. But how the Elder Safe program is funded and how we work. Basically, we are funded by what we call a VOCA grant. It stands for Victims of Service. So we receive state and federal funding, and then along with county funding to make sure this program is up and running. And what it does is it allows us to basically work with any crime victim that is 65 years and older in Washington County. So we are housed in the Sheriff's Office, but we can work with other agencies. So Beaverton Police Department can send me a case, Tigard Police Department, Sherwood, Tualatin. Of course, we have Banks in North Plains. Those are our municipal partners with the Sheriff's Office. So anyone in Washington County, we can work with. So that's kind of the unique thing about the Elder Safe program. Not many programs can work with a bunch of other law enforcement agencies within the county. And that's the same thing for the Help Me Home and the Project Lifesaver program as well. So with that, we get to coordinate a lot with the District Attorney's Office, Adult Protective Services. You may have heard of DAVES. It stands for Disability, Aging, and Veteran Services. They're a great group in Washington County as well. But we get to do all of that stuff to help provide services to victims of a crime, one of them being scams. So tonight we'll talk about what we call financial exploitation or scams and fraud. So we'll talk about why do scammers target older adults, identifying scams and scammers, tips to outsmart scammers, how to report scams, and then just some general resources. And if at any point tonight you have a question, feel free to just jump in. That's okay with me. So why would a scammer target an older adult? So the first main reason is scammers are going to identify older adults as having more money than the general population. So, a young person maybe just getting out of high school or college, they might not have a ton of money. They don't have their house paid off likely. They're probably saddled with potentially a lot of debt. That's not to say that some older adults are financially well off. Some are not, some are. But most likely, you're more well off than a younger adult a lot of times in the general population. So a scammer is going to target that older adult because of that theory. Older adults tend to have less social interaction. That can be a factor of why a scammer is going to target an older adult. That's not necessarily true. You guys clearly have a great group here. You have people that you can lean on, and you have a community, and that's really important. But some older adults are very socially isolated. They don't have family, they don't have friends around anymore, they're not a part of groups, and they are a perfect target for a scammer to get. Older adults are often retired, so some people would say you are more accessible. You have more time on your hand. I've heard many times that's the complete opposite thing. When you retire, you become more and more busy, so I don't know if that's true or not. I will find out one day. And then the last thing, and probably the biggest thing, older adults are less likely to report. And they have found that statistically that older adults will just not report that they have fallen victim to a scam. And the thought is because older adults are more embarrassed. They're more embarrassed to let the police know, let anyone know that they have fallen victim to a scam. Even their kids, they're very vulnerable to even letting them know that, I have fallen for this scam. This might be a little hard to see up there, but I will talk about it. So this is on a national level of fraud and identity theft here in the United States. This is Q1 of 2025. I looked today to see if they had Q2 up, but they don't. And I point this out because on this graph, you will see that actually the 30 to 39 age group falls more often victims to scam than the 60 to 69 age group. A lot of times we just have this idea that older adults are the ones falling for the scams, they're losing all this money. It's true, but 30 to 39 is actually typically the one that falls victim most to scams. But what you will see on here is that the age group of 60 to 69 loses the most money. So they're 3% lower on this graph, but they lose $355 million versus the 30 to 39 age group loses $221 million. So you're about $100 million difference. But the younger group is losing, or they're losing less money. Older adults are significantly losing more money. And that is something that we see a trend of. So each quarter, each year, older adults may not be the number one group that falls victim to scams, but they will be the number one group that loses the most money. They're still usually pretty high up on the scale in terms of falling victim to scams, but we will see that 30 to 39 age group typically be the highest. This is fraud and loss by in Oregon, so it kind of goes over the top scams. This was Q1. This does change periodically. And so the top scams here in Oregon, this is still not by any age, this is just Oregon in general, was business imposter scams, online scams, government scams, malware, so your kind of computer scams, and then just impersonator scams in general. This is Oregon, fraud loss in Oregon. I point this out because in Q1 in Oregon, we lost over, I think it's 29 million, or just about $29 million in 3 months to scams. That's a ton of money that we are losing. And this is just what's reported, so it could be significantly higher. but we're looking at least 29 million that we've lost in just Q1 here as a state. So how do scammers target you? This may seem fairly obvious, but scammers are going to contact you by your phone. So whether that's a text or a phone call, they're going to call, or they're going to also contact you by your computer. So they can email you. There's all sorts of ways they could get you by your computer as well. And then by mail. A lot of people will forget about mail, but scammers can target you by mail just as easily as these two other options. They could also potentially contact you in person. It's a little more rare, a little more riskier by the scammer. Those are the people we're more likely to arrest or catch in general, because they're right there in person. But those are the three main ways they're going to contact you. Yes. Oh, why am I blocking? Oh, shoot. Thank you for letting me know. So we have 6 signs it's a scam. So this is probably the most important thing to take away from the presentation today. I could stand here all day and try to tell you guys about scams, but they're constantly evolving, they're constantly changing, and we are truthfully always one step behind the scammer that's doing these scams. But the ways we can spot them, they tend to have trends, and these are 6 ways to potentially spot a scam. So 1, it's out of the blue. So if all of a sudden you receive a call about a tax refund that you're not expecting, or you're getting some urgent call saying something's happening to a loved one, or someone's in jail, or something like that, it's out of the blue. You're not expecting it. That's very likely it's a scam. Emergency, really smart tactic by scammers. So they will use an emergency tactic, trying to get you in a trauma state of mind. So they want to make you feel fearful that if you don't do this now, you are going to lose something, whether that's more money, or whether someone's gonna go to jail or be harmed, or you're gonna get in trouble. It's a really good tactic, and it gets a lot of people falling victim to scams. Requesting personal information. So if someone's asking you for your social security, your driver's license, things like that, your medical information, that's a sign it's a scam as well. Yes. Yes, login ID, passwords, definitely. Those are very important as well. We'll talk a little bit about passwords. People say sometimes address or your name. To be honest, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but it's very easy to figure out people's names and addresses. You can just do a quick Google search for that if you really wanted to. Requesting to wire or send money. So if someone's telling you to wire or give money by gift cards, it's a scam. It's 100% a scam. We see gift card scams all the time. So if anyone's asking you to pay by gift card, wire money, cryptocurrency, or Bitcoin of some nature, that's a scam. Keep it a secret. So if they're telling you, don't tell your mom, don't tell your dad, don't tell your daughter or your son or your neighbor or whoever, it's a scam. That's a very big sign. And then the last one that many people have heard of, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And they'll get people. We still see a lot of scams where we call them the jackpot scams. It's a really common scam tactic, but that's another sign. So if you're seeing these flags, this is a sign that it's a scam, and that's what you have to be mindful of. So types of common scams. So we have health insurance scams is a big category. We have you've won scams, so those jackpot scams, the home repair scams, investment scams, computer scams, so those are those malware computer scams, charity scams, and then impersonator scams run across all of them. They put it as their own category, but in reality, impersonator scams can be in any of these categories because it's just someone impersonating someone else. So we'll go through some examples on here, and I'll kind of just give a brief summary of it so you don't have to read the whole thing. But these are cases that have happened here locally in Washington County over the last year. And I apologize if anyone was at REBA. These are the same examples, but we change them out every year. But these ones still are for 2025. So we've got a U1 scam. So in this case, a victim had received a call saying they had won the Publisher Clearinghouse sweepstakes. And it used to be a legitimate sweepstakes, and now it's just used as a way to trick you. It does not exist anymore, but it is something that they will try to scam you with. So they're informed that they've won it, they believe that they have, they tell them you gotta pay some taxes to collect their earnings. So they tell them to wire transfer $5,000. So they wire transfer that $5,000 and then they don't win any money. They just lose the $5,000. It's a very common scam. It seems really obvious, but we do see that Publisher Clearinghouse sweepstakes scam. I would say one case per 2 weeks here in Washington County, so it does come around. So some things here, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Keep your money and financial information yourself, so if someone's asking for all this information over the phone, or however they're trying to contact you, don't give it out. Never send money to someone that has contacted you, whether that be wire transfer, gift card, cryptocurrency. Legitimate sweepstakes are also not going to ask you to pay those taxes and fees right away. And then do not trust your caller ID. This is a big one, and it changes a lot. So people are pretty good at knowing, okay, any number could be calling from anywhere in the country. So it might say Portland. It's probably not Portland. It could be someone in China calling you, or it can be really anywhere. And it just say that it is coming from Portland. What's very scary this day and age is that now AI technology is so good, which there's a lot of great things about AI, but there are some really bad things. And one of the bad things is, let's say I have my mom in my phone, labeled as mom, so mom is my contact. If mom calls me and I look at it, it says mom, pick up the phone, I'm assuming it's mom because I've got that saved. Talking to her sounds like my mom, she's got the same voice and everything. It could legitimately be a scammer this day and age. They've gotten so good with the technology. So in our family, if we get a call and you're answering, talking, we have a code word. Our code word is peanut butter. So if you notice anything suspicious in the call, you say the code word. They have to repeat that code word back to identify that it's actually them or not. So that's one way. We haven't had many cases like this. We've had now one that uses the technology with this. It's rare, but it is out there, and that's why I warn people. It's not something I'm telling you to be scared of, but it's just an alert because it has been used, and it could become more progressive. Because in this day and age, unfortunately, it's really easy to record people's voices and then use that against them on the phone. How they're doing the contacts, I'm not entirely sure, but I know it's somewhat easy to create like fake business accounts and put a different name on it, and then call people with that. So that's probably kind of how they're doing it. So this scam example here is a home repair scam example. Typically home repair scams are in the summertime the most. A couple years back we had a lot of solar panel scams, not as big right now, but this one happened to actually take place in the winter. This was a chimney scam. So essentially the victim needed their chimney repaired, so they're searching online for a chimney company to come and repair their chimney. They come across a company called American Chimneys, and notify this S, so American Chimneys. They look at the website, looks good, they contact them, call them up, and they say, okay, yeah, sure, we'll send someone out to come fix your chimney. They come out in a white van, no label or anything, maybe a little suspicious, maybe not. They come in the house, the person tells them, yeah, this is what needs to be done. We don't have all the pieces right now, so we're gonna have to come back a later day, but can you write us a check to pay a little money down deposit? So they're specifically asking for a check for a couple reasons here, but they write the check for $500. They tell them it's $1,000 and they can pay this $500 up front. So they write a $500 check, and then luckily in this case, the person had recognized something a little suspicious, so they had called us in the midst of giving away the check. And we did a quick search on American Chimneys. And American Chimneys does not exist. There is no company called American Chimneys. But there is a company in Portland called American Chimney. Doesn't have the S at the end. And basically, they spoofed this website. So they took the Portland American Chimney website and they created a fake website that looked pretty identical to their website. This is unfortunately happens. We got to be really careful about websites and that they're legitimate. Some red flags on the website was they didn't have like a business email account. It was a Gmail account. That might not be a red flag for a lot of like small businesses, but for big businesses, it's a little fishy to be a Gmail account. Second red flag is if you typed in the address, it just was an empty parking lot, so you couldn't see any building or anything like that. And then the biggest red flag was, for at least myself, is if you were to go onto like the Better Business Bureau and you type in the company, it did not come up. And so that was a really key thing for us to see, oh, this is not a legitimate company. Why they asked the victim to pay by a check. Does anyone have any idea? Yeah, I think I heard a couple people maybe get this. They're gonna wash the check. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna wash it. And when I say wash is, they're going to wash the person's name. They're gonna put their name, and they're gonna strategically probably just add 1 0 so it doesn't look too fishy if they go deposit that. So it's looking like $5,000. Probably a little more of a red flag on a bank if it's $50,000. So they're probably just gonna add 1 0 and then go deposit it. So check washing is a really big thing, especially around holidays. You'll see a lot of more mail theft because people are trying to get those checks, or potentially just like gift cards. But I always advise people, if you pay by checks, you gotta go take that to the P.O. box or to the mail. Just go take it directly there. Don't put it in like your mailbox in the development or something like that, or in like a box that has the red flag. Don't do that. That's just a sign you're giving it away. So those were some big things about this. So this person happened to call us. We were able to catch it and get this thing canceled. So the person actually never ended up losing any money in this case. But we were very fortunate to catch it pretty early. So some things here. A, never allow uninvited contractors into your home. I guess this case is they weren't uninvited, but in many cases, if they just come to your door, you just don't let them in your house. That's like stranger danger. We tell our kids, don't just let anyone in the home. Say no to contractors using high pressure sales or ways to get you to make a quick decision. Before you spend a lot of money, get at least 3 quotes. We always tell people that. And then before you select a contractor for anything, we always recommend that you check if they're properly licensed. You can go on the state's website for that. And then get contractor recommendations from people you trust. So if you need plumbing done, ask someone in here that you trust. Who have you used as a plumber? Don't just do a quick Google search. Try to get some more information about that person. This is a gift card impersonator example. Someone may have received this phone call because this happens periodically. But you've received this one? Okay. We get this one a lot, or something similar to it. Oh, I'm sorry. I am sorry about that. But basically, a lot of people will receive a phone call saying, hey, I work for the Washington County Jail. Your granddaughter or grandson is in jail. You need to pay a certain amount of money to bail them out. Or you'll hear one that's similar. You have a warrant out for your arrest because you failed to show up to jury duty. You need to pay this money or you're going to jail. Both are really common ways the scammer will use it. And they will actually use a deputy's name. So they will use a legitimate person's name. If you ever receive that call and you're actually really wondering, you can just call us, call non-emergency and say, hey, I got this call. Is this real? Is this not real? We will tell you it's not real. But if you just need that affirmation, feel free to call non-emergency. Or if it's during regular business hours, you can even call records. You can call me, and we can affirm that it's not real. But basically, they had asked them to pay by gift cards. They ended up paying, I believe it was $2,000 worth of gift cards. And they lost that money and no one was in jail. So gift cards are only for giving. Do not share the security code on the back of a gift card. Research and validate any organization, and then resist that pressure to act immediately. So they're really using that emergency tactic here. And sometimes they'll have more of a story with it, like, oh, your son was driving under the influence, or they'll put more of a spin on it to really get you to act more immediately. This was an IRS scam example. So during tax season, we'll see way more of these, but right now we won't see as many. But basically, they were told that they were receiving a refund from the IRS, and they were going to get $5,000, and that they needed to provide them their banking account information, social security information, and their license information in order to collect that money. And they end up doing so, and then they were basically scammed out. I believe it was $1,000 in this case, but that's an example of just don't give away your money or contact information. Don't give away your bank account information or any of that, because they're just going to use that against you. Some big things with the IRS is the IRS will not contact you by phone, email, or social media. So if you're all of a sudden getting a phone call saying someone works for the IRS, or you're getting an email, it's very unlikely that it's them. They will contact you by the mail. So the way that they do is they will send you a letter, and there's going to be a PIN or like a code number at the top, and it will actually give information to double verify that letter. So you'll go then on the IRS website and verify that's a legitimate letter. Because unfortunately, scammers are very good at making fake letters, and they will send that letter out as well. So it's really important just to verify it on their website at first. And then they would tell you to come in person to their office, wherever they need you to go. Search the irs.gov to verify the letter. Do not give gift cards, and I'm going to say that over and over again because we see a ton of gift card scams and cryptocurrency scams. In 2023, I know it's a little outdated now, cryptocurrency scams for older adults, 60 and older, went up 350%. They jumped, they skyrocketed. You will now go to your local Walmart, Plaid Pantry, even your Fred Meyer's, and you might see a machine that is a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency kind of machine. And they will direct people on the call to go to those machines. And they are not really that regulated, so they're very good at getting people to transfer their money over into cryptocurrency, and it's really, really hard to trace. You will hear detectives say it's really impossible to figure out where that money is going to and finding it. This is a technology scam. These are always really hard, and they're, in my opinion, one of the hardest ones to spot sometimes. Victim was searching on a website for a grocery store. It was a local grocery store called ranch99.com. And then on that website, they clicked a fraudulent link, and it froze their computer. So they're on the website, freezes their computer. A little window pops up and says, can you call this number? This is for Microsoft support. So they call that number, and then it directs them to someone named James Morgan, pretending that they work for the Microsoft Word. So they're contacting them, and they allow them to have access to their computer. So now they have access to their computer, so they're controlling it, the JP Morgan guy is. And they are able to access their online banking account because this person had saved all their passwords to their computer. So there's a bunch of information saved on this computer. Subsequently, because they had their bank information all on there, they lost $17,000. So they lost a lot of money. Sometimes what we'll see with these scams as well, so your computer freezes, and then you got to call this number, and once you've given them access to your computer, they will then download, it's really sad, but they will download child pornography to your computer. So now you are seeing child pornography on your computer, and they are saying you must pay this now, because if not, you're going to go to jail for this. And it's a really good tactic because you see it, you think, how in the world is this on my computer? But this is really bad because this is against the law. And if I don't do something, I'm gonna go to jail. And people will lose $50,000, $10,000, a lot of money with these technology scams. And they're, to me, really, I mean, I would look at it if I got a pop-up, and if I had not read about these scams, I might call that same number as well and think I'm just talking to a legitimate person. Yes? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It looks really legit. Yeah, it does. So some big tips here is if they're calling you, in this case not the case, but just hang up. And then if you're calling them and they give you a phone number, call the company on a known legitimate phone number. Or the biggest thing in this case, if you have a pop-up that happens, just shut down your computer. Shut it down immediately and then reopen it. If everything looks fine after, it was just some sort of scam. If there's still a problem at that point, then you may want to take it into, you could take it into Apple, depending on what kind of computer it is. Maybe you go take it to Geek Squad. They have a lot of them. Usually they're at Best Buy, or if you have some other person you want to take a look at it. But those are two really big ways to go and take a look at your computer and see what's kind of going on with it. But this all starts by clicking a bad link. So if in doubt, do not click on links that you don't know. It's hard sometimes, we all accidentally click things, but that's a big thing. And then never provide details over text or email, and then password protect. I know you said that earlier on, but it's really important to password protect. And there's a lot of different thoughts on this I've had with deputies. I'm a big advocate, don't save any of your passwords to your computer. So Google will always say, can you save this password now? Or you have it there ready for you to go. I'm sure someone in here does that. I used to. And it makes it really then easy for someone then to access your computer because your password is already saved in there. Or you may have a saved lockbox on your computer, so Google's got all of them, or you have a lockbox on your phone or something like that. I still don't trust them. I think someone could potentially get into them this day and age. I go a little more old school where I think it's just better to write it on a piece of paper, keep that piece of paper safe, because it's very unlikely that someone's gonna break in your house, get those passwords, and steal a bunch of your stuff. It's possible, but it's way more unlikely than them breaking into your computer and getting those passwords, or into your phone or something like that. I've had one deputy come up with probably a better idea, and that is to save your passwords to your computer, but you save the wrong password. So basically, if let's say soccer. If I think of soccer, I think of Thorns. So you're Portland Thorns. So I know my actual password is Portland Thorns, but what is saved in there is soccer. So it's just like a trick for the scammer. Yes?
What I have done for my passwords is I have the root password, and then if it's Fred Myers, it's a capital F, lowercase m.
Yeah?
If it's Chase Bank, it's a capital C, lowercase b.
That's another good way.
And that way I always know the password, and it's geared directly to that one company.
That's perfect. That's a great idea. Yes? So that's where like that's what I was referencing, those lock boxes. I have had sergeants tell me they think they're bulletproof. So I'm not a fan of it because I still think there's people smarter than me that can get into those things. But then again, I've had the sergeant of Sherwood say those things, that's what he uses. So take their word more over mine. So those are, I think they're definitely better options. Those are good ones. So it's not the worst idea by any means. Yes?
Password saved, to log in, you use your thumbprint. Is that safe?
Your thumbprint? I think the thumbprint is perfectly fine. That's definitely newer-ish. Obviously, we've had that for our phones for a long time. But I do think a thumbprint as your password to get into even your Face ID, I think that's actually okay because, it's very unlikely for someone to then use that, especially a scammer that is not going to be near you. This is just 5 ways to spot a scam email. Kind of hard to see, but the big things with the scam email I'll just talk about. Let's say like Amazon's contacting you. That's a really common company that might send you an email. Well, there's spoof emails where they'll just change that email address, so maybe they add like an extra N or an extra dot. So those are things to keep an eye on, because if that could be fraudulent. It might look real, but if you look at it a little bit closer, something's a little off about that email address. The messaging, so is it like a clickbait message where they're trying to get you to click it? So in this case, they say you got a refund. Well, they're trying to get you to open up that email. They sound very vague, so if they just say, "Dear applicant," as they do in this email, or they say online banking account, they don't say a specific banking account, so it sounds really vague. That's a sign it's a scam. They're telling you, directing you to click a link. So in this case, they were trying to get someone to click this sign-in link. And that's what's going to then potentially lead to like a Microsoft or Apple type of scam, where a pop-up is going to then go into your computer. And then it could just be poor formatting. Scammers are way better about that this day and age. That used to be much easier 10, 15 years ago. Formatting was really bad and really easy to spot the scams, but they're a lot better now. Yes?
When I have an email that I think is a scam, what's the best thing to do? I think you have to click it to be able to delete it.
Yes, there are some thoughts on this. There is someone in Tigard Police that has done some more training on this, and her best tip is actually not to touch it. And I agree with her. It's really hard for me because I'm like an OCD person with my emails, and I just want it deleted and gone. But the best way is not to touch it. So if you notice that it's a scam just by looking at it, you haven't opened the email, but it's in your inbox, is just not to touch it. Because the thought is the scammers can actually see if you delete it. They can see, like they can tell if you've deleted the email or you've opened the email. So they know that you are there. If you are not touching them, you're less likely to get these emails, because they're gonna think, oh, no one's using this account. It's just an account that's not being used. I can't do this because it just drives me nuts to have emails in there that show blue on mine and they're unopened. So I just delete it without opening it. So in mine, I can just right click and it says delete. That's how I do it. On my phone, I'll slide it and you can click delete and report as junk. I don't know, someone asked me where does it go. I actually have no idea, but that's the way to report it on your phone. So you might get like a UPS scam or a toll scam is a really common right now on your phone. But you don't necessarily have to open it to delete it. You could just right click and delete it, or like at the top there might be a delete, yeah.
I hover over the address.
Mm.
If I get something that, like say from Comcast or Xfinity, and it just doesn't look right, I'll hover over their email address, and it's like, oh, this is a Gmail account.
Yeah.
Really, it's not coming from Comcast.
Yeah.
And I delete it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one way for me to kind of, something just doesn't even look right in my email feed.
Yeah. So I think deleting them is the second best option. I think her name's Maddie at Tigard. I think she's actually completely correct. The best way is actually just not to touch it. I can't do it, but it is the best way to do it.
It seems to me, and I can't remember for sure, that I have left it on there, and I almost thought it ended up disappearing.
It could. It could potentially. There are some weird things with that. Because some spam will just be there for a moment and then it will go away. There's definitely cases of that. This is the last scam example, and this is called a romance scam. People always get a chuckle out of them, but when we do get them, they're really bad. We don't get them every week. We probably get 1, maybe 2 a month, and they're horrible. They are horrible cases. This is a really, I'm going to put it, a very kind, low-ball romance scam here. Basically, victim was met someone on a dating app. They had been sending messages through WhatsApp, which is an encrypted message way, so the messages are not really saved. Her name was Julie. Julie was out of town visiting her mom in the hospital in Idaho. She had her kids as well. Her and this gentleman had been talking for a couple, I think at least a year in this case, online. And he or she had said, oh, I'm at the hospital with my mom. We're in a really tight pocket situation. Can you please get us some Visa gift cards? And ultimately, he does, and he sends over $3,500 worth of Visa gift cards. And then she just disappears, and he's out $3,500. This is a very rare example that the person just disappears. This usually would be the one of many scams. So when we get romance scams, they've been going on for usually 2-3 years. The person has lost $500,000, hundreds of thousands of dollars. We've definitely had it over $1 million. We had a really bad case in Hillsborough where someone had sold a lot of property and they lost a lot of money through a romance scam. They had bonds and trusts all from selling a lot of farmland that was worth a lot of money, and they lost a bunch. And it was really, really hard to get this person to believe that it was a scam. And that's what's really tricky about romance scams. There is a level, if you've ever heard much about domestic violence, there's something in domestic violence called the honeymoon stage, and that is what romance scammers are really good at. They're catching people in this kind of phase of love and lust, and they're going to capitalize on that. So they're not usually going to try to scam you right away. They're going to honeymoon you, basically, I will say, for 6 months to a year before they're going to actually start to ask for money. And then it's going to constantly keep happening, and you're unfortunately in love with this person. You really think they're legitimate. There's great technology this day and age to make it also seem really legitimate. And they're going to target a lonely person. Sometimes they will target people that are recently widowed, is a really common way. The people that fall victim to most romance scams, according to statistics, are men 75 years and older. It's not saying that a woman they're vulnerable as well, an older adult woman, but men, that is statistically the higher number. So some things with it is limit what you share online. Do your research if you're going to be online dating. Never give money to someone that you've met online, never met in person. We always tell people if you do online dating, just go slowly, ask a lot of questions, really verify that they're a real person. But I think the biggest thing is if you got to meet them in person, and that's the biggest thing, to know if that's a real person or not. So some clues you may have fallen victim. You see withdrawals from your bank that you can't explain, so double check your bank accounts. If you're seeing something that doesn't make any sense, that's a sign your identity's been stolen, or money is just getting taken away from you. You don't get your bills on time, so all of a sudden you're not getting your bills. Like you're not getting your PG&E bill or your Northwest Natural bill. That could actually be a sign something's happening of a scam, or you've lost your identity or someone's using it. You get that collectors calling about debts that aren't yours, so we'll see that a lot with phone bill, or like AT&T and Verizon, like you'll get a call saying you're in collections to them. Could be a sign that some sort of identity theft has happened. And then you find unfamiliar charges on your accounts. Once again, check that. And then some tips to prevent identity theft: shred your documents. That's really important. Use secure browsers, strong passwords. Don't give out personal information. And then don't leave personal information in your vehicle. And I'm not just saying like your purse or something. Don't leave anything that's going to trace back to you perfectly. Because a lot of times here in Washington County, we live in a pretty safe area as a whole. We're not seeing as many car thefts where people are just stealing vehicles as unfortunately Portland sometimes does. But what we sometimes do see is we will see people, thefts, where they will go around to like a neighborhood and they're just going to go to each car and they're going to look for the ones that are unlocked, and they're going to pick a sizable neighborhood or a part. Unfortunately, If it's Sunday at church, lock your car, because that could be a perfect target, because there's a bunch of cars out in the parking lot. And they're just gonna look, and then they're gonna get what they think is valuable. So, if you left your purse in the car, they're gonna grab the purse, but also identity. So they're looking for your identification information, because they could use that identification against you. We will see this, unfortunately, happen a lot at some gyms. We'll see that a parking lot. We'll see, okay, they've taken either stuff from your car or stuff from your locker. So lock that up as well. But that's just a really big one that sometimes people will forget. And we all forget to lock our car. Sometimes it happens. That's probably the biggest way to prevent it, is locking your car, parking your car in the garage. But just don't leave any valuable information in your vehicle. Yes? I know, it's a tough one. I get that. And you have to have it in there if you're driving. I've had people ask, like, well, do we have, because I have all that stuff on my phone in theory, but I have been informed, because I have asked, can we not have it in our vehicle? But it is Oregon law that you have it in your vehicle. Some people will take it out and then bring it back, and then take it out and bring it back. I think that's too much work, to be honest. You're They can sell it. There's a black market for selling people's information. So they could sell it, they could use it. If it depends on what's all in that. But the biggest thing is they're gonna sell your information online. There's a lot of black markets just to sell your name, address, and driver information and all that stuff. Sometimes that also happens. You would be surprised when you're online and you click accept. So a lot of times something will come up on a website and it says accept cookies, you'll see. When you accept that, if you ever are curious, actually look at what you're accepting. If you open it, it's like a long legal document that you are allowing this website to have access to. And it's gonna be a lot of your personal information you're just allowing by just saying accept. Most people don't read it, but it's actually a lot of information that you're willfully giving away. Or do you have a question?
I can give you an example.
Sure.
Just last year, I was in Temecula, California, on vacation, and I had my wallet phone. It was in Costco, and I came out and I had a big thing of water, so I wanted to put in my trunk. And I had my purse. It was open. My wallet phone was on top, but I was moving things around so he could get the water in. While I was distracted, the employee took my phone, and that was it. So I reported it, of course, but that's another simple little thing I thought, but I had my phone visible, and even though he was an employee,
Yeah.
just sharing.
No, thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, go for it.
One thing that I have found that you should not Google the phone number, you go to the website to get the phone number.
Yes, that is true. So you're correct. So if you do Google Microsoft Word, sometimes scammers will pay to have their ad as the first one. So you've got to be really careful about typically sponsored websites. A lot of times it could be the wrong websites. So you do want to double check and go to their actual website to verify. But you are correct. That is a good point. This is just the last slide. So big things, if you suspect a scam, just hang up. Check your credit report. Check it a couple times a year, because that could be another sign of identity theft. Call your local law enforcement agency to report any sort of scam or fraud. You can also lodge a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission, FTC. If you have lost a significant amount of money, when I say significant, it's probably $100,000 to $500,000 and up. You can report it to the federal government, ic3.gov, and they will potentially get involved. Our state attorney's office they have a fraud agency on the federal level. They may get involved if it's worth, I guess, unfortunately, their time. It's a high dollar amount. Some ways to keep up with scams is the organconsumer.gov is a really great website to get notifications about scams happening in our area and trends that are happening. And then I talked about it earlier, but the Better Business Bureau for like repairs and whatnot, or just looking up a company is a valid way to search any sort of company. And then this is my contact information. It's all in the brochures as well, and it's, of course, you got the PowerPoint. It's right there for you as well. Any other questions? Yes.
I think one thing we all need to remember is a crook is a crook, 24/7, 365. That is their job.
Yes, you are correct. And sometimes we'll get the question of like, why aren't you getting these people? They're likely overseas. And one thing I always want to point out, and this is not to give them any credit, but there is some things happening across the world where if you're in India, for example, there are people that unfortunately have gotten scammed into scamming people. So they are trying to get a job, and they get a fraudulent job, and they put them in what we're going to call the hole. And it's basically like a jail or a prison. And they basically are told you will die unless you scam a certain amount of money out of people. And so it's not fair, but it's not also fair for them. I don't really know. I don't know what anyone would do in that situation, but the only way they get out of it is to scam people. And so that's one unfortunate thing that is happening across the world. So sometimes you might get someone that is actually desperate that is calling you. That's not to say to give them your money, because we have no idea who that person is. It's just their job, but they didn't always sign up for it, or didn't realize they were signing up for it. Yeah. I saw two hands. Yeah.
Can you please tell me what the non-emergency number is for Washington?
Oh gosh, I should know this off the top of my head, but I do not. What is the non-emergency number? My boss would kill me right now. That's bad. Non-emergency number. Is it on the brochure? It might not be. I think this might be it, but it's 503-629-0111. Let me double check that though. Let me just double check. It's not, but let me double check. It's just my phone's all. Yeah, I think that might be it. I know it's 0111 sounds right. Yes.
Okay, so it's a fairly easy one to remember.
Yeah.
Says, oh, it's an AI overview. My copyright says in Portland, Oregon, non-emergency numbers 311.
The Portland and the Washington County are different. We do have like magnets and stuff that have all this. Should have brought them. Yeah, this is right. Okay, yeah, 503-629-0111. And it's in this Elder Safe brochure. That's why I was thinking that was right. There was one other question I think over here, maybe not. Did you have a question?
Oh, I did. I had 5 calls from Clearinghouse.
Oh,
They
wow.
had my number.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yes.
What should we do with the ubiquitous
Calls.
nobody talks?
Yeah. Don't talk back to them. So we get a lot of people. They're trying to get you to talk. So they're trying to get you to say hello, or my name is, or because then they'll record that and they'll use that, or so that's another thing that's happening now with AI technology is like my dad's a great example. He loves to just talk to that scammer, not because he's getting scammed, but just because he wants to play with them a little bit, we'll say, and I'll hear people say that. I'm like, it's a really bad idea because now they're recording everything that you're saying. And if you say, yes, my name's Ken Smith, or yes to this, they've got you saying yes. Yeah.
I heard that they get paid by how long you stay on the phone.
That's probably true as well. So yeah, it's just don't even answer it is the biggest thing. You can block the number too, but it's only gonna, unfortunately, there's not really a way to stop the calls currently. There's some ways to like try to decrease it, but it's pretty hard to get them to stop.
They do disconnect if you go,
Oh, that's fair.
they've reached an answering machine and they disconnect.
That's funny. That's good. Yes.
I've gotten a rattle on it several times, saying that this is, your grandson. And
Yep.
they say, well, is this Joe?
Yeah.
I said, yes, and I said, well, I don't have a Joe.
Yeah, there's that, or sometimes they're good now where it actually sounds like your grandson or granddaughter. Yeah, it can be kind of spooky that way. Any other questions? Yeah.
Do you have a referral list say for counseling or
We do.
attorneys and things like that?
Yeah, so anyone that falls victim to a scam here in Washington County, there is free counseling for victim services. It's actually just across from the headquarters in downtown. So we usually mail that. So if I have it, we will mail or email that person that we spoke to that. It's called Victim Services Counseling in Washington County. There are other ways to get counseling if you don't want to go through them, but that's a free way to do it. There's something called crime victim compensation here in Oregon, where if you're a victim of a crime, you can get compensated for going to counseling. So maybe you already go to counseling, but you're going more because you have fallen victim to a scam. There's ways to get it covered, and we can work with people with situations like that. But yeah. Yes.
Thank you for lots of long, good, helpful information.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Sorry, a little sweaty.
Yes, thank you, thank you. That was great. It was great hearing it a second time, too. They say mother repetition is the best teacher, right? So thank you so much. And remember, there are brochures up there, or if you know somebody that might appreciate a copy of the presentation, PowerPoint presentation, she has extras up there. So thank you very much, Tabitha.
Yes.
Well, one public service announcement, Valley will have an end of the summer celebration on August 22nd, and it's a Friday, and it's free, and so if anybody would like to come, we're gonna have pronto puffs and bingo and watermelon and things like that. There's gonna be like games for the kids, and so anyhow, that'll be in our front lawn and in our back alley on Friday, August 22nd, 5 o'clock. Thank you very much for coming, and spread the word. Be good advocates to all your friends and family. Thank you.